Howdy folks, and welcome back once again to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Apologies to anybody who was expecting a Workshop Wednesday video, but pretty much like last week I haven't actually painted or constructed anything. It's not that I've run out of things to paint and build, it's just that I've been spending far too much time playing Elite Dangerous instead. Who knows, maybe an Elite Dangerous video at some point in the not too distant future, but for today it's World of Warships once again, and this battle was sent in by Bossa333 here in the Moskva. Although it's definitely not about him, he has an utterly disastrous game. We'll cut straight to the chase and spare him any more humiliation than's absolutely necessary. Initially things don't look as if they're going to go too badly wrong. He takes position here on the western flank. There's a Shimakaze ahead of him to do some sneaky spotting and get some torpedoes away, and he's been followed up by another Moskva and a Montana. And he's not stupid enough to go diving around this corner in front of all of the enemy ships who are approaching from the south. He's going to park up on the corner, get himself nicely angled, and use the island there on his left to shield him from the bulk of the enemy return fire. Or at least that's the plan. The problem becomes apparent when he spots his first two enemies, a Hindenburg and a Smolensk. Now, a Hindenburg and a Smolensk would be problematic enough on their own, because those things are capable of starting a lot of fires. But even though he can only see two enemy ships, he's being targeted at one point by up to 5. And there are only 7 on the enemy team. Now, he's definitely not going to go around this corner, but even though in theory he's got an island on his left side protecting him from the bulk of enemy fire, it is shocking how much high explosive damage the Moskva eats in just a couple of seconds. He's already down to nearly half health, and of course on fire. And the Moskva's DPM isn't great, although its Alpha Strike is pretty good. But the Smolensk has smoked up and is now just farming him for damage. The Hindenburg's taken a big old hit, and Bossa, while backing up, has now switched to the armour piercing, and, well, you shouldn't expect to be able to citadel a Hindenburg with 220mm guns at that kind of range, broadside or not, but you'd expect to be able to at least do some damage. Unfortunately, it looks like RNGesus was just not with Bossa today. The Hindenburg could have gotten out of line of sight behind the island, and just to add insult to injury, he turns around and starts heading the other way, giving broadside again. At this point, Boss has switched back to high explosives. But even his high explosive doesn't appear to be doing any damage, and it's the other Moskva with him who actually gets the kill. Despite the fact that Bossa has already burned through a heal, he's down to less than half health. The other 3 enemy ships that were down there have just been revealed. There's the Halland over there, of course. There's also a Stalingrad and a Puerto Rico, as well as the Smolensk, who was hiding inside his smokescreen. There's the first wave of Halland torpedoes. Not quite sure what happened to the rest of them. Bossa thinks he's okay, starts slowing down in order to position himself on the corner again, just in time to catch one from the second wave of Halland torpedoes, which of course starts a flood. And after dealing with the fires that he was suffering earlier, his damage control is on cooldown. And once again, he's been targeted by absolutely everything. He's managed to score some high explosive hits on the Puerto Rico and set a fire. The Puerto Rico has extinguished the fire, so who knows if he can set any additional fires. He might actually be able to salvage some damage out of this game. But yeah, he's burning through his second heal, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. Well, there's a permanent fire on the Puerto Rico, so there's that. But he's still only done 34,000 damage, and he's about to die. It's shocking how much damage the Moskva takes from high explosive shells. There's a double fire. He set another fire on the Puerto Rico, but he's about to die. He's obviously being focused, and there he goes. So he's got that double fire on the Puerto Rico, which is going to continue accumulating some damage. He's managed to do 50,000, which is not great, and he's already out of the game. The good news is, as well as the Hindenburg, the enemy team have lost another ship. The Shimakaze over to the eastern side of the map managed to land a torpedo hit on the other enemy Puerto Rico that caused a detonation. and Boss's team, as well as having a 1-kill lead, also have control of 2 of the cap circles. The next moment of high drama occurs over here, where the Montana that Bosser thought was backing him up is about to get up close and personal with an enemy Kremlin who's taken a lot of focus fire and has his guns pointed, I believe, at the friendly Worcester. So that's kind of bad news for the Worcester, but I think it's safe to say this Kremlin has overcommitted. 2 very nice torpedo hits. So what's the Kremlin going to do now? Because there's no way he's getting out of this alive. Well, he's going to accelerate and he's going to try to ram the Montana, obviously, which, under the circumstances, is absolutely the best thing to do. The Montana sees it coming. He starts backing up. Luckily, the Kremlin doesn't even get close. Sadly, while all of that was going on, the Puerto Rico, who got the killing blow, but wasn't the one who killed Bosser earlier, there were a lot of ships shooting at him, has just done exactly the same to the other Moskva. So Bosser's team still have a 1-kill lead, but the enemy team are now claiming the second cap. The Shimakaze on the western flank, who was with Bosser and managed to score 2 torpedo hits on the Kremlin, has just dumped a further series of torpedoes into the water in the direction of the Puerto Rico over there. This Worcester just managed to get this island between himself and the guns of that Stalingrad. He's running his radar, possibly because he'd like to know if there's a Halland within torpedo range, and maybe also to reveal the location of the Smolensk. Well, he kind of gets his wish. He's found the Smolensk, not because the Smolensk was inside the range of his radar, but because the Smolensk is now shooting at him. The Puerto Rico had been causing Boss's team so much pain and grief has been taken out by the Montana. The Stalingrad expertly threads the needle there between the tracks of the torpedoes launched by the other friendly Shimakaze, while at the same time finishing off the job started by his clanmate in the Smolensk and finishing off the Worcester. Boss's team do still have that 1-kill advantage, however, and they do enjoy a points lead, but it's only 200 points, and the enemy team, or, well, enemy clan, because this is a clan battle in case it wasn't immediately obvious, now control 2 of the 3 caps. The Montana is getting farmed by the Smolensk, and he's firing 16-inch super heavy armour piercing shells back at him, but that's about as effective as pissing on a bonfire, because despite the fact that it's a cruiser and technically has a citadel, the Smolensk has armour so thin that 16-inch and higher armour piercing shells basically pass right through it, and out the other side without the shells having time to arm. The Shimakaze down here to the south hasn't been nearly as successful, despite the detonation on the Puerto Rico at the beginning of the game, as the other friendly Shimakaze to the north and the west. He's so determined to finally get a torpedo hit on this Stalingrad that he's close to suicide range, which of course means he's spotted, he's getting shot at by the Smolensk and the Stalingrad, and, well, there's a reason why we call it suicide range. Meanwhile, at the other end of the map, the other Shimakaze is in a gunfight with a Halland. But only for as long as it took him to sneak over the border into the cap circle after chasing the Halland out of it, with the assistance of that Montana. He's very wisely decided to smoke up. I'm not sure it's going to be in time. That Montana is still firing armour piercing at a destroyer. Oh, that Shimakaze is living on borrowed time. He's backing up right to the edge of the cap circle. Oh, it's our friend in the Smolensk again. Please tell me this Montana is going to switch to high explosive. He's got a Smolensk and a Halland to shoot at. No, he's still firing armour piercing. Okay. As you can no doubt tell by the way the camera keeps jumping around, I think it's safe to say that Bosser is starting to get extremely excited at this. Oh, we're over here now, are we? Going to see if the friendly Smolensk can finish off the Stalingrad. No, we're back over here, just in time for the Montana to at least be able to avoid the Smolensk torpedoes. They're still desperately clinging on to that points lead. But the enemy Smolensk, I think, has a bit of a crisis of confidence because he stopped shooting because he's so close that he can be seen even though he's in a smoke screen. But then he realised that the Halland's torpedoes were about to hit the Montana, realised he didn't have anything to lose, opened fire, probably in an attempt to sneak the kill in there, but the Halland got it, and there goes the points lead. The enemy team are back in control of 2 of the caps, with the other Shimakaze being forced to retreat, And this Stalingrad is really not in any hurry to die, is he? I mean, he finally goes down because the Smolensk is shooting at him, which equalises the kills between each team once again, although it hasn't done an awful lot for the points difference. I mean, Boss's clan have a momentary, very slim points lead, but the enemy team is still in possession of 2 of the cap circles. With the friendly Smolensk smoking up there, neither of his 2 surviving clanmates have any vision on the enemy Smolensk, although possibly we might get lucky yet. Beautiful torpedoes from the Shimakaze. That guy really has been punching above his weight in this match. That just leaves the Halland. However, he's on the other side of the map, miles away from the Smolensk, and I dare say that the Shimakaze is probably in no great rush to get himself into another gunfight with a Swedish destroyer. The Shimakaze does have a massive stealth advantage over a Halland, however, and the Halland of course doesn't have a smoke screen, so if he can just spot him, the friendly Smolensk should easily be able to kill him. Friendly Smolensk running his Hydro there, obviously paranoid about Halland torpedoes, which are incredibly fast and give very little warning that they're about to hit you. Credit to the Shimakaze, he's doing it. He's sneaking out there, trying to get eyes on that Swedish destroyer. Friendly Smolensk moving up, ready to give gunfire support, but no indication of where he might be. And despite the Shimakaze's stealth advantage, this still has to be an extreme brown trouser moment for the captain of that ship. Because he is a one-shot kill, and stealth advantage or no, if he comes around the corner of an island, and the Halland is right there, his stealth advantage means absolutely nothing. Oh, that's exactly what's happened. No, he's too close. Yep, the Halland fired his first couple of shots at Smolensk, realised the Shimmer was right there, the Shimmer was who was spotting him, took him out. And that gives both the point and cap advantage to the enemy clan. Now, initially I was thinking, who exactly is the Smolensk expecting to hit with those torpedoes? Because surely the Halland isn't going to come chasing after him, he doesn't have to. He's got the points lead, he's got the cap lead, all he has to do is stay alive and he's going to win. But then it all made sense, as the Smolensk, instead of chasing the Halland down, ducked into cover behind this island in order to start flipping this cap circle. And those torpedoes, I imagine, were a sort of Hail Mary shot in case the Halland had anticipated that he was going to do this and try to sneak around after him. So that's a fairly smart move from the Smolensk. The question, of course, is how is the Halland going to react to that? Because he's got a points lead. It's not that big a points lead, but he's a damn sight closer to 1,000 points and winning the game. All he has to do is keep that points lead for a minute or so, and even if both teams have 1 cap each, he's still going to win. The issue here, of course, is that it's not very far from this cap circle to the other one up to the northwest, which the Smolensk should be able to flip to. So, is the Halland going to head north to flip that cap? Ooh, Halland torpedoes. The Halland's torpedoes have a 15-kilometre range. So the fact that he just lobbed some torpedoes around the side of the island there, attempting to ambush the Smolensk as he headed from one cap to the other, doesn't necessarily mean that he hasn't hightailed it up to the north in order to flip Cap Point Charlie. He could have dumped those torpedoes and then immediately run to the northeast. But equally, he could be lurking behind that island waiting to dump more torpedoes into the Smolensk because of his incredibly fast torpedo reload rate. We just don't know. But then again, looking at the points, I think that anything that either of these two ships could have done has already been done, or at least anything that's going to make any difference, because while Boss's team are gaining points faster, the Halland started with the lead, so it's anybody's guess who's going to hit 1,000 points first. And wait, what? Both teams reached 999 points and the match ended? You can't do that. We demand to know who won. And on that bombshell, that's it for today's episode of World of Warships. I hope you... No, I'm messing with you. But still, it would be nice to know. And the winner was... Boss's clan. Despite the fact that the enemy clan reached 999 points a fraction of a second before Boss's clan did, Boss's clan had 2 cap circles and they got the next tick of points, and they were the ones to reach that 1,000 point victory marker before the enemy team. But it's hard to see how it could have been much closer. Anyway, well done to all involved. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.